Average wait time less than 5 minutes. Don't forget a quicker queue if that queue is religion. This whole healer's strength.
No, that's not starting yet.
I'm sure it's starting already. A lot of them are.
Such a joke. Kinda hope that, like, they all get banned for, obstructing others' playtime.
That might be a possibility, actually.
It's technically, they're violating terms of service by actively not well, I don't know, like, you can make an argument, "Oh, well, I'm just not queuing,"
I mean, if
or
they
"I'm not
enter
queuing
a
for this
dungeon as a
healer."
healer and then they refuse to be a healer, that's a little...
Yeah, it really depends. I mean, if they, I don't know, because if they actually like sit there and like, let's say, gather in Ul'dah, and then are like, hell no, we won't go, hell no, we won't go as healers, then like you could actually make an argument that they're obstructing people's playtime. Like, yeah, democracy, but unfortunately, video games are not democratic. So you could make an argument for them to get like hemp bans or something. I don't think Square Enix is going to do that, but that would be funny if that was the result of their fucking little hissy fit.
Hissy fit is a great way to describe it. I had so many comments on that video, by the way. It was like 150 plus comments on a video with 3,000 views.
Like, don't get me wrong, I understand where they're coming from, but like, I don't know, the fact that they're like getting pissy over Hanks being able to self-heal, and I don't understand their entire stance about DPS being the self-heal, because
Boy, Tamp.
everybody's self-healing options are trash. So like, you have like a 2-minute second wind cooldown that heals you for like, I don't know, maybe 1,000 HP. Like, oh yeah, you're right, I don't need you anymore.
No, it's way more than that. It's based off of how much damage you do with it.
No, not second wind.
Oh, second
You're
wind.
thinking
Right.
Bloodbath.
Bloodbath is what I was...
Yeah, but that's another one. It's still, but that's also like a 10-second cooldown or 10-second duration. So like, it's still not much. You're still definitely gonna need a healer. And I remember very vividly a couple years back, everybody bitching that healers weren't doing damage back when they did have multiple damage skills. And I believe the exact phrase was, "You don't pay my sub." So now that you're
Right.
sitting there and everyone is bitching about the fact that they're being relegated and they don't have it as good a DPS options anymore and blah, 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 all I can say is you reap what you sow.
I'll be really honest, like, this whole healer's DPS is lackluster right now. Like their output isn't, but their simplicity for damage rotation is. I just want to say shut the fuck up. Don't make it harder. You don't want Square to make it harder. Because when Square makes it harder, you get Gordius.
No, like, making it slightly harder is one thing.
Another button?
pretending like-
Sure. Making it a full-on rotation? No.
Yeah, I mean, like, you sit there and you tell me, oh, well, we want better DPS options. What it is they want like an actual combo, like a rotation. But the problem is that means that that's just another thing you have to take like, care of. You have to pay attention to.
In
And people
high-end
were
difficult
bitching about the fact
content...
that they had to pay attention to 2 dots. Like, what?
In high and difficult content, keeping track of that rotation and your healing cooldowns, like, because you have a healing cooldown rotation in high-end content, you have to coordinate with the other healer.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to have a difficult damage rotation on top of all of your healing responsibilities.
Well, like, I think the big problem is that everybody just thinks, oh, well, you know, I'll just get increased damage rotation, I'll do more damage, and like, I'll have more interaction, be better, have more fun playing my class or whatever, right? That means that they have to design fights with your damage in mind, your increased damage output. That was the entire problem back with tanks back in the day, is they had to design fights with tank stance dancing in mind. And a lot of people weren't doing the stance dancing. They couldn't, they weren't good enough at holding them aggro, the groups weren't able to do it. So that's why they changed it, so that you didn't have the damage reduction in your tank stance. Every single tank said, well, it sucks that we don't have the complexity of stance dancing anymore, but we understand why they took it. Like, we didn't sit there and bitch about, well, actually, now tanking is just too fucking easy, so we demand extra, like, button pushes, and, like, we want everybody else to have their damage mitigation removed, so that, like, only we do the damage mitigation, because, that's our job, morons.
Hey, look, my healing at rotation went from pressing 1 to pressing 2. I went from pressing Malefic to pressing Benefic. That's this
And like them complaining,
tank pulled everything. If I complain about this, nah.
like there were complaints about how like all the damage or all the OGCDs are so powerful now for healing, and I'm like, yeah, that's because y'all bitch that you had to give up like actually sit there and cast heals. No one wanted to cast the heals, so well, you're giving like different reactions to people. It's stupid.
I'm
I
an
don't know. Like
advocate
I can
of you should never balance based off of the 1% players, and it's mostly like high-end players that want changes for healer. It's like they can't be excited for their job anymore without having both a difficult healing responsibility and a difficult DPS responsibility. They're going to alienate 99% of players doing that, though.
I really don't want to say that it's because of like the influx of all the WoW players that we had after what was it, Warlords Draenor or whatever was a flop.
Ah, shit.
But
I didn't go to it. I didn't turn old. I'm too hot. I got seduced.
the amount of bitching that happened after that was just out of the world. And like I don't know, it's just it's ridiculous. Like I get it, like you're kind of upset because like you didn't really gain anything in your class. Guess what, welcome to tanks for the past 3 ones. We didn't get anything super exciting except for Warrior is the exception, and that's because it's basically a blue DPS, let's be honest. Like, Paladin, the most exciting thing was this patch, or this expansion, with the Confeder combination, because that actually made us have a interesting rotation. Before then, boring as fuck.
Party
And our
members are
Sheltron actually
arguing.
Sheltron was actually interesting. I liked the Sheltron change. Dark Knight.
What
Dark Knight
Sheltron
hasn't gotten
change?
anything for Endwalker
What?
when
Yeah,
they
yeah,
got
what's the
to go.
change? Before and after?
Well, Sheltron before was just like you block the next attack when you click it, right? It was very mid. And then I think they changed it. I didn't play Paladin back in Shadowbringers. I was a warrior Dark Knight. But I believe they changed it to a very short damage reduction for only like 5% or 10%. It was very mid. It was like, okay, this is kind of nice. It's a lot better than like Sheltron or oh no, they made it so that it was just a couple of seconds of auto blocking, which was like, okay, like it's not bad. It's basically a guaranteed 20% for however long that this lasts. So it's not terrible. We actually enjoyed it. It was all right. And then Endwalker, Shieldwalker got insane with the I think it was a double regen. You get like you get the same damage reduction thing that you did before. But then you also get for 8 seconds even more damage reduction and like a heal over time for like 10 seconds or something. It's really strong.
Yeah.
Not as strong as Warriors, but definitely stronger than the other 3 tanks or other 2 tanks. So like Sheltron's fine. But the biggest thing was Confeder. The Confeder was super fun. But before that, Paladin didn't really get anything fun. Like I guess that's not true. We did get Requiem Scott, and then it made it so that you could cast Holy Spirit while you're moving. But that was back in Stormblood, and like that was a necessary change because it made Requiem Scott just not useful at all. Before that change, and it wasn't a X.0 change. It was a 0.3 change or something like that.
Yeah.
And then Gunbreaker, I don't think really got any decent thing for Endwalker. I mean, I guess they got the Heart of Stone change and the continuation. But so they got a couple of things, but it wasn't like super fun. But then again, that class sucks, so whatever. And then Dark Knight. The only thing that Dark Knight really got was a stackable 10% damage reduction that you could grant to someone else. The class still was ass because it was stuck in between, like, is it a fucking Paladin type rotation? Is it a Warrior type rotation? What is it? Which I think they're finally addressing in Dawntrail. It's actually going to have, like, somewhat of its own identity back, which is really cool. I'm really appreciative. Dark Knight has always been my favorite class, even back in 11. I loved Dark Knight, and it was completely different.
How do you play with?
It was tedious, I'm not gonna lie. Looking back on it, I have rose-tinted glasses just because the people I played with, but my god, it was tedious. And then like, but throughout the ages, like you got White Mage who got the fucking lilies. The lilies were a blast.
I love the lily system.
you have the continuation of the lily system with that bell lily or whatever that pulses healing. That's fucking awesome. Like, there's so much that they did with healers that made them more unique to themselves and interesting, useful, and allowed you to burst heal quickly so that you could get back to DPSing. Yeah, you only get 2 buttons to DPS, and you know what? I feel for you. I really do. But like, keeping track of a dot, keeping track of your cast time, and keeping track of this fucking idiotic DPS who sit in all the red, I don't think you really want more. You think you do, but you don't.
Some of the arguments I see is like that healers don't have any uniqueness, but quite literally are nothing alike. Like all 4 healers, like at their very base, they have a damage spell, a dot, a heal, and an AoE heal. But that's where the similarities stop.
That's just objectively wrong. You got white mages who are like strong single target heals, decent AoE heals, the Blood Lily, where healing literally powers up one of the most damaging spells in the game.
Yep.
And then you have Scholar, who's all about shielding. Like, if you boil it very down, you have 2 healers and 2 shield healers. So I guess if you're talking about that with not having identity, then yeah, okay, fine. But like, you have the white mage with the lily system, and where you heal with a massive nuke heal to power up a massive nuke spell. Completely manaless, by the way. I just want to keep pointing this out.
Yes.
This is a massive nuke heal for free.
And
then you have
Latest
Scholar,
Rapture.
who has...
Look at that cost. 1 lily.
You have with a Scholar, you have 2 healers in one character. You have a healer in Eos, and then you have a shield healer in the Scholar. Plus, one of the best ground AoE protective spells in the game. Sacred Soil is still one of the best ones. Plus, it has a bunch of really nice buffs that you can give to the party. Everybody memes about it, but that movement skill one has actually become strats for faster clears in Savage and ultimates and stuff. So, like, you cannot discount that ability.
Movement
You
skill one?
have...
Oh, yeah.
They get one that they increases the
Expedient.
party's movement skill. Yeah, expedient. It's which, like, we all memed it when we got it, but then people started coming up with actual, like, thoughts about it and coming up with strats, and some people are nasty. Like, the uptime that some of these groups can get at that on their melee DPS shaves like half a minute off of clear times. It's disgusting. So like, there's just and then you have Astrologian, which, I mean, has and will always be the king of party buffs. Like, it's just dumb. Like, I'm not even going to talk about that. That's stupid. And then you have Sage. Sage has some of the best OGCD heals and some of the best just tools to heal, to the point where they never really have to stop casting damage. So their damage numbers should be one of the highest of all the fucking healers.
Yeah, their main thing is to heal off of their damage, because Cardian, and they have a counter for so many different scenarios.
Yeah, I've never sat there and going, God, I wish I just had one more cooldown as a Sage. I'm just sitting there going, God, I have so many cooldowns. I don't know which one I should use in this particular moment.
Right? But all 4 healers have plenty of individuality. Like, they all have that base that I was talking about, though. The 1 damage cell, the 1 dot, the 1 heal, the AoE heal, and then it just spirals into completely different directions.
And then you
after
actually get into, and it's just like tanks. I mean, you got your damage combo, you have your big cooldown, your invulnerability, your short cooldown, your really short cooldown, and then everything spirals into the class identity. So and then you could just do that with fucking damage dealers. It's not like the damage dealers are sitting there going, we want more self-healing. No, damage dealers like, I want to be able to be a god. They know their place. They know that they're there to do damage and only do damage. The healers are the ones who heal them. And if you don't like the fact that you can heal without having to heal, maybe you should just stop playing healer. Play something else. Play a tank. You think they're gods anyways. Play a tank. See how well you do.
My favorite comment on this video, there was a couple of them because there's so many. One of my favorite comments was, someone said, wish I could just find it, but there's so many goddamn comments. I can't find any particular one very easily. But one guy said, if you're having trouble as a warrior, here's what you do. You put bloodwetting on your bar and you press it. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, run a dungeon but no healer, and only press that button. See how long he live.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you're using. You're
ridiculous.
dead. Sorry, it's
It's
not that
not that long
simple.
of a cooldown. Yeah, like you have a lot of tools as warrior to survive in a dungeon. Don't get me wrong. It's one of the most busted dungeon running tanks in the game. Some of the stuff that it can do is disgusting. The fact that it can solo bosses across the tanks, like I get it. I understand the frustration, but at the same time, like you should never be in a position where the warrior can do that unless you're a shit healer or you make a dumb mistake that is 100% salvageable. Then that's like a you problem. Well, like I kind of get them with the entire we want more damaging things, we want more things to do. I do not enjoy only having like 2 buttons to push when I'm healing. So I can give them maybe like you know what I would do? I think that every healer should have some kind of thing like phlegma,
Yeah?
the rail gun that Sage gets, the
Yeah.
like was 30 seconds or something with the massive damage plus heal. And then you can like coordinate whether to use that as pure damage because you don't need it, or say, okay, well, I know we're gonna need it for here for a massive amount of damage
You might be thinking
so
about
that this
Numa,
massive heal, what I say?
Phlegma.
I said phlegma, didn't I? Yeah, I meant Numa. But like that I'd be okay with, and maybe one extra button push. But I don't think that they should have this complicated fucking rotation like some of these people are doing, because then it's just going to be okay. Well, you can't heal while also doing this incredibly complex rotation. Like, what are you, trash? Get the fuck out of my party. Like, it's just gonna breed toxicity. It's dumb.
Asamir,
Don't do it.
this is a comment that I wanted to bring up and read through on stream. Boy, it's a long one. Make the text bigger so I can read it because I'm blind as shit. So, this guy said a lot of shit, and I almost replied to him, but I decided not to because he's not worth my time unless I'm making content out of him. Which, even if I don't turn this into a video, just looking at it on stream is content. Anyway, so he said, I think the only way for you look at this that would make sense to some people is imagine if all healers could do everything a tank could do. Think that in your head, if you didn't need a tank and any class could basically tank for someone, that could survive the tank busters and everything else, what would be the purpose of an tank? Well, this argument assumes that classes other than healers can do the equivalent of survive a tank buster, which is, heal the group through a raid buster. A tank can't do that. A tank cannot heal the group to a raid buster. Because what he's thinking, Mike, this is more than just surviving in a dungeon. What would be the purpose of a tank? It's a moot question. Because
There's a bunch of things that are just so wrong. First off, what he's complaining about is less a it's stupid because it's not so much the class design, it's a fight design. The fights are for the most part avoidable damage, and it's how it's always been up until you get to like savage and shit, like the raids, the extremes, stuff like that. Dungeon content has always been designed to be incredibly easy, just hard stop, flat out, you're done.
that's really the only thing that you can run without a healer is dungeon content.
And it's dungeon content, yeah.
Like some
The minute that
normal
you
raids,
start
you can get away without a healer.
some normal raids, some
But in those normal raids,
trials.
the idiots that get hit are just kind of SOL at that point.
But the problem with all this is it's going to take forever without a healer because I can, as a warrior, I can babysit one other person.
Every 25
Um,
seconds.
in content where you have like multiple people, like yeah, it's a standard full party, 2 tanks, 2 healers, 4 DPS. If I could only babysit 1 DPS, we're not meeting a rage.
Right.
So like if you're talking about specifically dungeons, I don't know why you're throwing a baby rage about it. It's a fucking dungeon. Get over it.
It's supposed to
Wah.
be easy.
Crimey River. It's supposed to be easy. It's the lowest denominator content.
Now, if we're talking Criterion Dungeon, just try to do that without a healer. Ape
Well,
happening.
even a Criterion dungeon, like you can do it. Oh, well, I guess a Criterion, no. It's the
No.
variant that you can't.
The variant,
But
you can. But a Criterion, that ain't happening without a healer. That's where you have your hard 4-man content, and it honestly is a little too hard. Heal Karnakrok, man. So yeah, like,
and again, like
people are up in arms that Xeno no healed the first dungeon in Dawn Trail. Well, there's a couple things here. It's a dungeon. Number one, its tuning may not be final, and
what was his gear that he had?
they probably went in with the best in slot Savage gear, which is typically better than the gear from the first 2 dungeons, typically. And he's also one of the best warriors in the world. And I know he clicked through it, but one of the best warriors in the world, clicking his skills is still better than the vast majority of players in this game. His bad is better than most people's good. That's something people are not considering.
And I mean, like, again, it's
Just the dungeon.
dungeon. And if he's able to do that, yeah, that just doesn't sound like the thing was tuned. It was a press access too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, they have to realize that in the gaming world, press access is actually garbage. It's so tuned down because most new games press can't fucking jump their way out of a wet paper bag. Like, there's a journalist from, I think it was Kokaku, who couldn't even get past the tutorial in Cuphead. The tutorial was too hard for them.
So that guy left more to that comment, by the way. That was just one part. That was just the first of 4 paragraphs, and the other paragraphs are bigger. So, second paragraph starts. This is basically what's happening here. It's not to the point that they're upset about, oh no, they can heal themselves. No, it's more the fact that they can survive, and it's not really necessary to have them in certain forms of content outside of babysitting of their players when they do something stupid. But it is necessary for that, which is the majority of content. Like, I'm sorry, but the majority of content is casual, okay? The majority of players are casual. They are going to get hit by things. They need a healer.
I'd like to think I'm relatively hardcore, but in dungeons, I definitely get hit by shit I shouldn't, just because I'm fucking too lazy to actually pay attention.
Either not paying attention, tired, don't care, whatever the case.
Bored because it's my
Ugh.
337th time in fucking Sestasha.
Yeah, so, continuing. If you cannot do that and not send in the giant orange circles or, not giant orange circle markers that indicate you're going to be hit, you typically aren't going to be seeing too many people die or need revive. Well, your grandma needs some reviving, sir, number 1. Let's not forget some things naturally heal, the HE_LL. He will ever players and put a shield on them so they're fine, and many DPS players can heal themselves. This is something, I swear this is written by AI, something that you'll see classically when healers are down in battle, typically if it's a boss fight. You see those last 1 or 2 players are sometimes free to duke it out and stay alive with the healers, and the other members did watching from the sidelines and cheering them on. I mean, what's wrong with that? If you can do that, what's wrong with it?
Again, it's a boss. Like, the bosses are designed as a dance. If you can do the dance, then you can, yes, use the DPS and the tank healing to get through it. I don't see what the problem with that is. That just means that there's a fight and a class knowledge that people don't have that other people do, and you're basically saying, oh, well, this person knows their class better than I know mine, so they need to buff my class.
Yep.
It's asinine. Now, I will say, I do understand people getting upset over their class not being as good or didn't get any cool updates or anything. I understand that. I wanted Dark Knight to be good, and it wasn't. I get it. But after a certain point, you got to be like, well, maybe it's just because my class is already pretty damn good.
So continuing, that's about half so far. And yes, that's pretty cool, but once again, we get that question, why are they there at that point? Yes, we know for the common reason to keep you alive, to keep it so you're not going to die, but if it's easy to avoid dying in some classes, don't even need to be dependent on the healer to stay alive. We get that notion that a lot of people might not use them or queue with them. Wrong queue, by the way. At one point, if they had the choice. You can't really do that without a tank. You can't do that really without DPS because, yeah, it would be a long battle, but you have a tank and the healer. And the healer, you're good. If you have a healer and a DPS person, maybe not so good, especially if that's a fight where they hit hard. Yeah, the DPS are going to get one shot by tank busters. So you definitely need one more than the other, and it's kind of, yeah, it's fucking grammar. Oh, that Trinity everyone's talking about, it's been imbalanced from the start. People are just paying more attention to it now because it's becoming more easier/harder to distinguish the difference between needing one and being able to function without one. That's the whole comment. Easy content, if you can do it without a healer, if you can avoid the damage and not need the healer, you deserve it. You worked for it. You tried hard, but there is still a lot of content. Extremes, most normal trials, most normal raids, All alliance raids, savage raids, ultimates, all of this content, you need a healer. There are some fringe examples where you don't, but again, balancing over the 1%
Where-
is not the way to do it.
Where was this guy when people are doing single healer runs?
Man, you needed a really goddamn good healer to do that.
Oh, almost like people who have class knowledge, fight knowledge, and the skills and judgment to be able to do shit like that is venerated.
Right? And now you have
Uh,
people complaining that
being-
healers are being ignored. They're not getting attention paid to them. You're not doing hard enough content if you think that's the case. If you are yourself or a hardcore enough player that this is a problem to you, you need to be doing the harder content. As if you're a casual, none of this applies to you in the first place. And I'm not using casual and hardcore based on the time you invest in the game. I'm using it based on skill level. The casual will struggle to heal and DPS at the same time, mind you. There's just so much content where healers are absolutely necessary or you don't clear it that I just don't see it. Like, all of this on dungeon, just stupid. But I like some of these comments here. I'm so excited for my healer insta-Q time in Dontrell. If it means faster Qs for me because I get to take the spots they don't want, they can strike to the heart's content. And Elowen, honestly, I had no idea this shit was happening. I'm just vibing as a wet mage and I would take her spot. This is the kind of entitled attitude I left Warcraft because of.
Yeah,
These people that
exactly.
are just trolling on it, they're just like, hey, better cues for me. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever agree with the healer strike. There was like one thing that I could concede to them. That was the simplicity of our DPS rotation. But you don't want a complicated DPS rotation. Like, one more
That's-
button, maybe.
That's what I was saying. Is like I will give them that their DPS rotation is very boring. I will give them that. And I think that maybe they should have one extra damaging / healing cooldown like Numa. And maybe one extra. I'd actually give them two. So you get one Numa, one just big damage that's like every 10 seconds, 15 seconds you have to push, right? Something super long. Kind of like Goring Blade on
Something like Phlegma, actually.
Paladin.
Like, Sage is in a really good spot for their damage rotation, because they have like 4 or 5 buttons to press. Take some
Wait, I thought
inspiration from
Phlegma wasn't
Sage
the
and
one
put it on the other classes.
I wasn't talking about. Which one's Phlegma?
Phlegma's the
'Cause now you got me
40-second
all
cooldown
confused.
that does damage. It's basically baby Numa. Like, Numa's the big
Which
laser
one is
beam,
that?
and Phlegma is like, you get
Is
a
that the
charge
one that
every
you can
40
hold 3
seconds.
tracks?
Yes.
Yeah. They should give those charges. Those charge things. That would be good. And then like a Numa-like skill. Like those, fantastic. I think that would make a lot of people happier.
But make them do
then
different
you can-
things on the different classes. Like, say, Sage's version of
Well,
it is like, here, we're gonna put a shield on somebody. You, Orcord, thank you for
Or
the
like
loop.
when you do it, gives everyone like a 5% damage boost or something on the Astro, right? Like that
Yeah.
would be interesting.
Like when you do it on the White
Um,
Mage, it's mob the region.
Yeah, decent regen. And then you have the give him another like instant cast. Honestly, I feel like everybody should have some kind of stackable instant cast.
Yeah.
I don't know how it'll be for White Mage. That'll be hard to choose, but yeah, I think this entire healer strike is entitled and a joke.
Yeah, aside what we just talked about.
Yeah, literally the only thing I'm giving them is the fact that their shit is boring as hell.
And I would even enjoy having like another button or two to press as a DPS healer. But I don't want a big complicated bullshit like what a couple of them are asking for. Ass is way too far. But like nerfing other jobs, nerfing tanks. I'm sorry. No, when healers stop playing roller coaster with my HP bar, then I might consider it. But healers like to play roller coaster with my HP bar in dungeons. I don't like going down to 20% HP all the time. So I am glad tanks have all of this self-healing power, because I know I won't die. How about that one, healers? Actually heal people. And maybe they won't want healing abilities on their own. Yeah, maybe consider that.